again, my name's Gabe Zolna. This is the 2nd of April, 2018. Just read a rather interesting article. I'll give you the highlights. I will attach the link. It was posted by Renew America. It was written by Reverend Austin Miles, dated March the 30th, 2018. Let's cut to the chase. Do you actually believe the facts as given of that Florida school shooting? Has anyone actually taken the time to think of the glaring problems with the accounts given of the attack as planted by the Soros communist-controlled news media? Question mark. What was the purpose of the murderous school attack, followed by national protests by children? The purpose is gun control, meaning all guns must be confiscated from all citizens for now, get this, the safety of our children. Now there's a malevolent switch to the narration. New tactics, but very effective. The most evil man in the world, George Soros, is also an evil genius. He has tried his best to create a reason to strip Americans and their guns by staging killings, but nothing worked. But to recruit children to stage mass protests against gun ownership in order to protect them, now that is indeed ingenious. And indeed we are to believe that all of these students in that school suddenly were able to arrange and hire buses to transport them to various Capitol buildings to demand gun control, with the protests instantly exploding all over the country. Some communists volunteered their private airplanes to transport students to various cities for protests. Examine this fact. We did. And we noticed the protest signs that instantly appeared. This writer is certain they were prepared sometime before the shooting. I remember seeing a demonstration in Ferguson in Maryland. The signs were professionally done, thousands of them. Taking a closer look, the writer clearly saw a logo at the bottom of the protest sign stating, CP USA, Communist Party USA. While visiting Italy, a communist riot was taking place. Destruction, chaos, fights, cars set on fire. They actually had a communist party in Italy. We actually have over here, only it is called a different name. Here it is called Democratic Party. Then a very articulate, nice-looking young man, David Hogg, presumably a student at the school that was shot up, like Obama, suddenly appeared and was immediately a media star, appearing on everything. He claimed to be in the school when the shooting took place. I actually did a couple of videos. One of them has him saying he was in a science class. The other one has him saying he was at home. And he raced 3 miles to the school on his bike with his camera. He immediately became a de facto leader of the spontaneous, in parentheses, movement to demonize private gun ownership in the U.S. Now let that soak in. Now, as the late Paul Harvey would say, you will now hear the rest of the story. We've now learned that David Hogg was nowhere near the school during the shooting. What? Where was he? And how did he become the leader and organizer of the protest? It all came together rather quickly, too much so. Something else of interest. It is reported that Hogg's father is a retired FBI agent. Something very fishy in all of this. Billionaire George Soros owns most of the government, which would include FBI men. But Soros using children to influence personal gun confiscation by pleading for their own safety. How can most people fail to back them? Yes, an ingenious plan by Soros. But how many non-staged school shootings over the past year actually happened? Years ago, a schoolyard shooting took place in Stockton, California. This writer drove there to examine a schoolyard. But what was observed in the yard and surrounding areas convinced me that this shooting was staged. Staged shootings for personal political reasons have an interesting history. Wars have broken out over money. There's a lot of money in war. Yes, money. What have we become? Hey folks, how many times have I done videos talking about fueling the industrial military complex? They all do it. Every single war we've been in, we've initiated. Listen to this. In 1898, the U.S. Maine blew up in Havana Harbor. A war against Spain was, for some reason, desired. Newspaper icon William Randolph Hearst cabled Cuba and told his workers, "You get me this photo and I will give you a war." And the war broke out. But here is something little known. It was discovered many years later that it was not a Spanish bomb that destroyed the MS Maine, killing 160 of 400 American soldiers. It happened due to a fire that broke out in the munitions section of the MS Maine. Didn't matter. Mission accomplished. Since this Florida school shooting has turned into national protests, led by children financed by George Soros to provide a reason to disarm all Americans. And considering his skills, what do you think? See, the writer talks about disarming all Americans. No, disarming all law-abiding Americans. You're not going to get the guns from the bad guys. This is totally insane. How many times have you heard me say the exact same thing? These false flag events, all of them. Every one of them. Including the Gulf of Tonkin. Including the 9/11 takedown. Folks, right back to Pearl Harbor, Eisenhower, Rumsfeld. They're all criminals. Every last one of them. Bushes. They're all criminals. They all do it for money. Every last one of them. Roosevelt knew they baited the Japanese. He needed the American people to support the war effort. He let 2,500 or so die. A miserable, horrible death. No different than the takedown of the Twin Towers. The ends to these sick, perverted people justify the means. I'll attach the link. You take a look at it. You know what I think, and you know why I think what I think. The question now is, what do you think?